My name is Dr. Renson Muchiri. I'm a senior lecturer at KCA University School of Business. I teach research methods, business research methods, and econometrics. And I'm also a researcher in entrepreneurship and small business development. So we started this research by responding to a call from the British Council. And the call itself was informed by the lack of innovation among African universities in general, in terms of their limited youth who are getting out of the university and are able to start their own businesses, and also their employability skills. Every one of us knows this narrative of Kenyan universities are coming up with half-baked graduates. And because of that, well, the British Council came up with this project where they would want us to research, first of all, to understand the basis of the problem. And so after we got the grant, we started with doing a baseline where we are collaborating, first of all, with University of Nottingham in UK. And University of Nottingham is actually among the top 10 innovative universities in UK in terms of their graduates spinning off businesses. From the spinning off businesses, and therefore they are a very good example for us. And then we have got KCA University as the other partner, and we have got an entrepreneurship support organization. That is an organization that is supporting youth entrepreneurship in the field, and that is the Youth Enterprise Fund. And so with this collaboration, we set out to understand why, after all these years, 4 years students are spending at the universities, then they get out, why it is that this education does not seem to be making a difference among our young graduates. And also why we are teaching, for example, entrepreneurship in our Kenyan universities. And we find very few of them able to start off their businesses, and they succeed, yet they have this knowledge. And so our question was then, why is it that we have this entrepreneurship education and other courses that we are teaching, but they are not producing the results as we expect them to come out, or as we expect them, in terms of getting youth who are innovative, who are creating businesses, actually, and also who are employable, so that if you get this youth to your business, they're able to run with the business and they can do the tasks that they are required to do for employers. And that is how we started. And we went out to the field and we decided to talk to young entrepreneurs, those youthful entrepreneurs who have started businesses, whether they are very young startups or they are at the intermediate level, and we wanted to hear their stories, their experience. One is, what is it that made them start their businesses? That was a generic question, but we got interested, and there were quite a number of good reasons. And one of the key reasons that stood up is where they identify a gap, like especially in agribusiness, where farmers are growing produce, and you find there are no markets for the produce, and there are the people who demand the goods are out there looking for the goods in the market, but the farmers, on the other hand, they are being shortchanged by middlemen. And so they come up with a solution. We had instances of such cases. We had other instances where the youth were starting businesses to solve environmental problems, recycling plastics, and they start off and they get their hands dirty. So there were all those very nice stories that we had of how they started, and also environmental conditions like creating employment for themselves, either because they have lost a job or because they didn't find any opportunity to get a job, and they have been just hanging around, and I thought, why not use my hands and my skills to be able to get myself some food on the table. And so those are some of the things we heard from them. But critically, what we wanted to hear from them is what were the things they had learned in the universities, in the colleges, how they were applying them in their businesses, what had worked and what was not working. And from the narratives is like those students who had done some management courses, did accounting, marketing, they had found the courses quite useful. And those who have done ICT, actually, they found them very useful in terms of even coming up with their businesses and products for their businesses. But on the other hand, we asked them, okay, tell us about this knowledge that you learned. You spent 4 years or 3 years, or how many years you spent at the university or the college. What is it that you have found not working? And it's like, number one, there is a great disconnect between what we learned and the practice. They called it theory. They said, on the ground is the practice. In the class is the theory. And the class, the theory is not connecting with the practice. And one of the main things that they felt where there is a disconnect is when they look at, for example, one gave us an example of marketing. And when they are taught all these marketing management courses, what to do with marketing, when they are taught about, the 4 Ps and all those, and then when they get to the field, it's like, when I did that course, I did it to get a grade. So I didn't even pay attention to the lecturer. And so that focus on getting a grade and passing, getting an A, it really caught our attention in terms of this, that when we are teaching these students in class as lecturers, as professors, are we really training our students to be solution solvers, or are we training them to be able to get a grade at the end of the semester? And we noticed that's quite a big gap. We also noticed, for example, the examples we use in class. If we are teaching, let me say, financial accounting, and you're teaching financial accounting, and you're teaching financial statements, and then you are giving the student financial statements for Safaricom, for KCB, organizations that are well structured, they have got all structures. But now, none of these examples are drawn from small businesses that are very unstructured information that these guys have got to arrange, and these guys have got to think. None of them, they have not been confronted with marketing problems that small and medium enterprises, especially macro enterprises and small enterprises face, which these are guys who are not working from a structured method. And again, even employment, how we are preparing for them for employment. We prepare them for formal employment. You're going to get employed with these big organizations that will pay you these big bucks. And that's why they get the frustration when they get out there. And the thing that we learned is that we need actually also to let our students learn that there is also employment, but this employment is in the small businesses. And small businesses are not that structured. They will not start you with that big pay, and there is a lot of uncertainty. And preparing them to work in uncertain environments where things may be working today, tomorrow they may not be working, and to be able, allow me to use this word, I know it is very popular nowadays in our environment, hustler, hustling with day-to-day problems. And so someday, and what we realized actually with these young entrepreneurs is that even when they want to engage somebody to work with them, they want to engage somebody who they're able to relate with, a young person. But the young guys coming from the university, they don't actually want to go and work in that medium, very tiny enterprise, which is hustling and is struggling to make ends meet. And that is something that we discovered. There are also things they told us, again, about deficiencies of the practical aspects of our training, that we need to train practical aspects, that they are able, that connect actually with the practice, that not just telling them things that are abstracted from what is on the ground. I mean, we teach using books that are published and have been developed in the West that hardly capture the Kenyan environment where, for example, our economy is driven by agriculture. Even from our research, most of these young entrepreneurs were actually doing agribusiness. And so you realize that when we now go to class, we are teaching them about IBM, we are taking examples of Microsoft, so much disconnected with the realities of our local economy. And we have now to come down from there and come down and change. We had a discussion after this. We had a day yesterday. We had a discussion with some university lecturers. We presented these results to them and told them what these young entrepreneurs, people who had gone through our system, are saying. And indeed, there was concurrence that we need to change the way we approach, the way we do things. If it is internship must have a meaning. You know, some of these guys told us narratives that you go for an internship, and where you go for internship, you are serving a cup of tea. When you go where you go to an internship, it has nothing to do with the course that you learned. But because you have to meet that requirement of an attachment that is required by your degree, you just find a place. And we have to think of innovative ways of actually even running the internship, learning the practicums. If we are asking students to do business plans when we are teaching entrepreneurship, and I remember one student saying, yeah, I did this entrepreneurship course, and we did the business plan. But then, even that business plan, I don't think I'm the one who did it. I asked somebody to do for it because I needed the grade. So you see, that is the attitude that we have. But we want to now change our training so that when we ask a student to do a business plan, they really got to do something that captures a business idea they have, and they are passionate about that they can do. Whether it is commercializing whatever they are learning in class, or whether it's something else where they can apply that knowledge, we need actually to rethink about how we are doing it. The other thing that now, with that finding, we have had our reflective moments, and we are continuing to reflect. And we spent the whole day yesterday doing our reflections. And one of the things that we are coming up are some interventions, and we'll be reaching out to universities. We'll reach out to other ecosystem players. We realize that there is quite a fragmented way and uncoordinated way people are getting solutions. We've got companies, we've got banks coming up with solutions, Equity, KCB, we've got Youth Enterprise Development Fund, and they're doing all these trainings which are good, but they are very uncoordinated. And we think that, like, we go and we found one place, KCB did a small training here, and so they have got some small number of people. Another Equity has another one, and other companies. And now we realize that if we can draw these companies that are really very passionate at making a difference, we need to make them comfortable to work with the universities so that we create an ecosystem of the universities, of the financiers, which the youth actually were complaining a lot about not being able to know how to finance their businesses, how to be able to get even seed capital to start their businesses, how to start, all those things, and those enterprise support organizations. And I know we have got very passionate people out there, and organizations that are very passionate to support the youth organizations. We need to reach out to each other. We need to congregate. The universities, particularly being sources of knowledge. And when we talk about universities being sources of knowledge, for me, I see universities as harnessers. They harness the knowledge. So we bring these people, they have the knowledge, and let this knowledge congregate at the university. And now we disseminate it to our youth. And now these guys will achieve the objectives of actually making a change in the community through supporting youth-led enterprises. We have got also to rethink as universities how we do our learning. We want that guy who scored a C+ or a B who is doing a BCom program or doing a bachelor's program. We got also to think about the guy who did class 8. Can we learn some programs, the guy who dropped at class 8, and which we can accommodate them and take them through some entrepreneurship training program, which now they can upscale their skills to be able to run that successful business? Because I can tell you that out of the 68 entrepreneurs that we were with, 13 of them actually guys who have never seen a blackboard in the university. So those are things that we are thinking about. Another thing is actually when we think, at this time when we think about COVID, is how we can also reach youth in other places. We know youth are very tech savvy and we are looking at other solutions where we can utilize that by creating a youth resource enterprise, a youth enterprise resource hub, where now we will deliver resources and we will work with other stakeholders. And we create this entrepreneurship ecosystem and we will draw in their expertise. So KCA does not have any knowledge on beekeeping, on poultry farming, but we can collaborate with an institution that has that expertise, and we can prepare something which even a student doing a course at KCA, at some time within their course, they can go to that institution and take a 3-month course on beekeeping so that they have something, a skill that they can put into use. And depending, if a student wants now to use their skill and they want to learn some other skill, we collaborate and reach out to other institutions. So here it is creating an ecosystem where we all are working together to supporting youth enterprise in this republic and coming and getting solutions for their growth.
Thanks, Dr. A quick one. Currently we have the country's challenges that we are undergoing. And one of them is the politics of the day vis-a-vis the corruption.
Yes.
And also the rigidity by governance systems within the government that could also be hindering people. So what is your take on that?
Yeah, those are things we had, and of course, being a Kenyan, I'm also aware of them. And like if it is the county governments, you know, one of the things I would say is our governments, the county government, the central government, have first of all to realize that the future of this nation is in the hands of our youth. And we've got to be facilitators of our youth to help them be able to come up with solutions for problems that are in their age. Now, how do we do this? I think, and I propose to our county governments that when you're coming up with policies, it's good that you reach out to institutions. For example, and KCA, there are things we are doing, and we have got all this data from the youth, and we can share this information. And we are also looking, like now when we will be working on this project, we will be reaching out to county governments. Every county that we visit will be reaching out to the county governments, we'll be talking to the CECs who are in charge, and we want to incorporate them in the solution space. Allow me, please, to cite one example of a very good coordination and support of a county. In Makueni County, when we did our research, we found a youth group which had come up with a solution to help farmers sell their products using technology, internet, using social media and all that. And guess what? These guys just came up with they participated in an innovation challenge in that county. They were given some token, but that is not the end of it. The county has set up a place in the county office. When these guys need a mentor, they visit, and they talked so highly of how that mentor in the county ICT office has been so useful to them in terms of enabling their environment. They are so excited. And we saw how a county government can actually support. We wish that all other counties, and I know there are some other counties that are doing those things because we didn't go to every county in this republic. So I wish all county governments would have such very deliberate plans to support youth entrepreneurship. Again, these things of licensing businesses kindly understand the youth and where they're coming from. So the youth will not maybe be able to have to go all these bureaucratic processes. Make the process easier. The number of licenses they have to cut. Please, let's have a one-stop shop where they can be able to get their licenses, and also educating our youth in terms of the need to pay their taxes, and also be considerate also, let's talk about KRA, can we? Why not think about giving this youth enterprise some tax break? I've seen some cases where guys coming from abroad and they're setting up enterprises in Kenya, they are given some tax break. I remember the what do you call this? The Earth River thing. What do you call it?
The concert.
Not concert. The Earth River. The zone, EPZ, the EPZ. Yeah, and you know those guys were getting tax breaks. And you remember the AGOA thing? Why don't we do something for the youth? Yeah, as you know, when they're starting. You see, when a youth starts a small business, and like now they cited this thing, you know the 5%, the return, you know the return tax, you know, like whatever sale you make, give us, is it 5% return? Now, suppose even my sale, I do all that sale, and after I deduct of my cost, I'm getting negative net. So what is the logic? So there are things that I think also the tax regime they can do to be able to support youths, and that is something that they cited. Again, I would also like to see KRA officers out there training the youth and talking to the youth about taxes. You know, what do they need to know? I have an example, a guy telling me, you know what, I have to charge VAT. Okay, these are an intermediate level enterprise. I have to charge VAT. But when I charge VAT, and I've got a business of 500,000, I charge VAT, then it's 16%, but I don't have the money in my pocket to pay, but I'll be paid in 90 days. But I have to pay KRA now. Where do I get the money? So when they get through that, then you find that because they have to struggle to abide with those regulations, it also impacts the sustainability of their businesses. So I would say KRA needs to be out there more talking to the youth about why they need to pay taxes, and also come up with benign tax regimes that will be able to support youth entrepreneurship.